Oh, hello, I didn't realise you were there. I just happened to have the camera on and I was just happened to be playing that little sound there. How interesting. In this video, I'm going to test or compare VST sidechaining compression with hardware sidechaining compression. Before beginning the test, I'd actually set up 5 different compressors and 5 different plugins. I was doing it in Cubase. I've got 3 compressors at the side here, which you don't see, and I dragged out this old Alesis 3630, which is very nasty, but does actually have some character. And I was going to use all them and test alongside 5 different VST plugins, because I thought there would be quite a massive difference between these plugins and hardware. Well, as soon as I started setting it up, I rapidly realised that there wasn't really much difference, or any discernible, noticeable difference. The test is just going to be between the drummer, basically the drummer, and Ableton's stock compression plugin. And you'll see why I didn't include all these other compressors. I'm going to utilise the Summit Audio TLA 100, but it's only a mono compressor, but you'll still get an idea. So this is the little loop that's going on. Pretty basic, right? And the first thing we'll do, keep an eye on this area down here, right? So here's the external audio effect, is the drummer compressor, and next to it we have the Ableton compressor. So I'm going to be turning them on and off, right? You'll be able to see that by the yellow button, or you can look at the you'll see with the drummers in play, or the TLA 100 with the VUs going. So, right, I'll do it with the compressor bypassed, do a cycle, and then I'll turn it on and we'll go to Ableton Live. Drummer now. Ableton. Drummer. Now, I think you'll agree, those two were almost identical. I can hear a slight difference, but in a real world situation, if I was looking to compress that little bass sound, mid-range bass sound, I would sidechain using either of them. Now, I will say it took a lot longer to set up the Ableton, and I find this with all VST plugins, setting up the sidechain. To find the sweet spot, or where you want it, or how you want it to sound, takes a lot longer. Literally, the drummer is 30 seconds, if that. And another thing, I don't feel like I have to go and change the settings on hardware compressors. I'm always fiddling with VSTs, like I never seem to get it right, but I think that's a psychological thing, you know. So let's try it. You know, I in all my demos, I like to put in more than one element, one sound element. So let's try it with a little synthy line on top. The point of this is because it can often radically change how a compressor reacts. So that's it bypassed. No difference. So there is a very subtle difference, but I can't sit here and go, that is better than that. You know, it's just 6 and half a dozen. I'm going to change the channel, and we're going to hear what the TLA 100 is doing. It's only a mono unit, so we're not comparing this with the Drummer or the Ableton compressor. I just want you to hear it, because what's fantastic about this compressor is it's almost impossible to make anything sound bad, and it's doing a lot of pumping here, but you don't really hear it. So first bypassed and then on. So bypassed. Now we're back to the Drummer. Now the Ableton. So there's a lot of compression going on with the and sidechaining to the Summit Audio TLA 100. You don't really hear it like the Drummer and the Ableton compressor. So, I mean, that's basically it. Like I said, I had plans to do much more elaborate, this VST versus this hardware, blah, blah, blah. But once I'd set it up, there was no real major differences. Now, what I could do, a big difference here, if I started using the EQ on the Drummer and a lot more saturation, just a tiny bit, hardly noticeable, I could radically change the sound of that, but that's not the point of this, and it would be unfair to the Ableton compressor because it would give it an advantage. But when I do use some of this EQ stuff and the saturation with the sidechain, you get extra Quan, and you know we like Quan, right? Quan is good, vibe, you know, all that kind of business. So anyway, I learned something myself here. I had preconceived ideas that hardware sidechaining is just so much better than VST sidechaining. Well, I bust that bubble. I do prefer hardware in general anyway, and particularly hardware compressors. I don't know why. It could just be because that I was raised on hardware, right? It could just be that. So I was quite surprised that the Ableton stock compressor was able to compete on the sidechaining anyway with the Drummer and the TLA 100. The TLA 100 is the smoothest of the lot of them. You can really hammer a lot of compression into, you know, really turn it up, and it doesn't sound pumpy. And well, it does. It's kind of just got a kind of classiness about it, you know. It's just a pity I don't have two of them. It would have been really good to check that in stereo. So anyway, that was that. I hope you got something from this. What I did, I learned that sidechaining via digital or hardware, 6 1/2 dozen.